Hi everyone, this is William from the Headphone Experience, and I'm here tonight with my first impressions of the Spirit Torino, and please forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, the Super Leggera. These are made in Italy, and this headphone currently retails for, I believe, 1,499 euros, which works out to about 1,667 US dollars at the current exchange rate. This is a mid-size, on-the-ear, open-back design. Uses a dynamic driver with an isobaric chamber design in the ear cup. The impedance is 32 ohms. The sensitivity is not listed in the specs from Spirit Torino, but they seem relatively hard to drive for a dynamic. I mean, they're not super hard, but they seem to need a little bit of power, and they definitely get more dynamic if you do put some power behind them. Spirit Torino claims a weight of 360 grams. I came up with 380, slightly more on my kitchen scale. That would be with the ear pads, but not with the cable. The ear pads themselves are leather on the back, and then the front and sides are a synthetic material, sort of I'm not sure, velour maybe, but very soft, very comfortable. The head strap, the headband, is leather, and as you can see, these have a similar design to Grotto's as far as the way they swivel and the height adjustment and all that. They do have a very similar look, similar headband and all that, similar shape to the ear cups, but the ear cups on these are entirely aluminum, and the yokes are aluminum, and it looks like the blocks on the headband here are aluminum, and very nice design in my opinion. I really like the way these look, and they photograph extremely well. You can see that's a picture I took a couple days ago on the monitor behind me. And anyway, I also wanted to show you that these use a standard 3.5 millimeter connection at both ear cups, and the cable that came with these, the one that was sent to me, and these are on loan to me for review, these had a 4-pin XLR connection on them at the amp end, and then the headphone end is your standard 3.5 millimeter plugs with L and an R on them, clearly marked. The material's nice, it's flexible, it's soft, it doesn't make any noise rubbing on itself, and this cable is about 7.5 feet long. Basically, like I said, the weight is 360 grams, and to me these are very light. They're very comfortable, and I can barely feel them on my head. The clamping pressure seems to be just about right. Doesn't squeeze too hard, but doesn't fall off or want to move if I tip my head forward a little bit. But I did want to point out that the ear cups are large enough on these that it pretty much fits over my ear. This feels more like an over-the-ear headphone to me, because it pretty much fits tight against my head all the way around my ear. But like I said, I find these very comfortable. Getting into the sound a little bit, I've had these for I think about 5 or 6 days now, but to be honest, I've only had about maybe 3 hours of time to put in on these, and I have done enough listening. I feel comfortable to give you my first impressions, but without getting too deep into the sound. So the first thing I noticed, and probably the first thing you will notice about this headphone, is they have a heavy emphasis on the bass. This is not a neutral headphone by a long shot. The mids and treble I would consider pretty much neutral, but the bass, I would estimate probably a 10 or 12 decibel emphasis on the bass. These do have a lot of bass. Pretty much more than any headphone that I've reviewed so far. But I will talk about the bass a little bit. I'm actually kind of impressed, because with as much bass as these have, it seems to be well controlled. It's not muddy, it's not distorted. You know, with this amount of bass, I've most of the headphones I've heard that come anywhere near this, the bass has been kind of distorted and not tight at all, and just kind of an overall muddy sound, and that's not the case with these at all. The bass is very strong, but yet very well controlled in my opinion. The mids, I would say, are kind of rich and thick. That this is not a thin sounding headphone in any way, and I would say the tone balance throughout the mids is good. I would say, but the mids are set back just slightly. Now, I don't really hear it with instruments so much, but male vocals seem to be just slightly set back on the soundstage, and female vocals just a little bit further. So, you know, they just sound a little bit more distant to me. And getting into the treble is definitely smooth. It never sounds harsh at all. And but yet it's not rolled off. It has good sparkle, and it seems clean and detailed. Getting into the now let me go with details. Detail and resolution is good on this headphone, but it's definitely not the last word in detail. I mean, compared to some other headphones, it's the detail it can sound a little bit veiled. I would say in the mid-range through the lower treble, it's good, but it's just not the last word. I mean, compared to something like the Kennerton Odin, that it just does not have the detail. But as far as, you know, the weight of the bass and all that, it's far beyond the Odin. So, but it is kind of strange that you would expect with as much bass as these headphones have that it would kind of bleed into the mid-range, and that doesn't seem to be the case. The mid-range still seems to stay clean without really being affected by the bass. The bass seems to be separate from the rest of the sound. The sound stage I would describe as fairly wide with pretty good depth to it. The imaging is a strong point on this headphone though. I've noticed the imaging to be very precise. Just can really pinpoint where things are coming from, almost to the point that it almost startles me at times. You know, something just really jumps out at me, and I can just locate exactly where it's coming from. So I really like the imaging on these headphones. The dynamics are exceptional. These are a very dynamic headphone, especially if you feed them enough power. If you're underpowered, they lose that dynamic punch, but once you put some sufficient power into these, and so far I've tried these from the balanced output of the GSX Mini from Headamp and from the balanced output of the Master 9 from Audio GD, and those both amps have quite a bit of power and more than enough than this headphone would ever need. But when I do feed them some power, they become very dynamic, and the bass is very hard-hitting and very punchy and very solid. And so that's pretty much what these headphones are about. It's not the most detailed headphone in the world. It's not the most balanced headphone, but it's got a ton of bass, and if you're a bass head, this might be the headphone you've been looking for. It's just a fun sounding headphone. I've tried it with quite a few different types of music, and it seems like this works really well with rock and like electronic dance music, that type of thing. I tried it the other night with some Rush from Moving Pictures and Permanent Waves, and Rush sounded really, really good with these headphones. The bass emphasis in these really brought out the bass guitar and the bass drums and just gave it a lot of weight and made it sound really good. Some other stuff I tried was some Kansas, some AC/DC, some Metallica, and just all of those just really, really hard driving bass, but not distorted. So same thing with electronic. I tried some Depeche Mode. That sounded really good, and also some 9 Inch Nails from Pretty Hate Machine. just sounded incredible with these, and just really, really hard driving bass. So probably not the best headphone for acoustical, probably not for classical, orchestral music, things like that. Not the most balanced headphone in the world as far as, you know, being neutral or anything like that. But so far I'm just having a whole lot of fun with this headphone. And I don't really consider myself, I definitely don't consider myself a bass head. I probably was 20 years ago, but not now. And, you know, I really like headphones that are on the neutral side, but I gotta admit I'm having a ton of fun with this headphone. So if you're looking for a headphone that's got a lot of emphasis in the bass, but yet it's tight and clean, this might be just a headphone you're looking for. So anyway, I'll be back in a couple weeks with a more detailed review of the sound of these headphones after I've had time to do some more listening, try them with some more music, try them with different amps and all that, and give you a little more information. In the meantime, I'm going to wrap this up, and once again, this is William from the Headphone Experience. If this video has helped you, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you are all welcome to join us over at the Headphone Experience on Facebook. Thank you.